Good evening and welcome to the Monday, June 5th meeting of the Hoover City Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Council President White.
Here.
Council Pro Tem Posey.
Here.
Councilmember Sweeney.
Here.
Councilmember Driver. Here. Councilmember Murphy.
Present.
Councilmember Millbrooks.
Here.
Councilmember McClinton.
Here. Full house tonight, so we will proceed having a quorum. If everyone would please rise for the invocation to be delivered by Ms. Dickerson and for the pledge to be led by Councilor Driver.
Bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, as we have discussions, may they be meaningful and allow for the best choices of the city to be made. May our leaders have wisdom in their decisions and our city be blessed. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will begin tonight with our announcements and reports, and I understand Ms. Bolt is here for April financial update.
So, Councilman, before you have the April preliminary financials. So as compared to budget, our revenues are coming in at 71%. For the 7th month of the fiscal year, we would typically be at 58% of our budget. So you can see our revenues are definitely trending a little bit higher. Our expenditures are a little bit lower, but as we saw last year, at the end of the fiscal year, we did see that that was pretty much 100% of what was spent, and then other sources are at 29.9. So our fund balance at the beginning of the year is $81,767,040. And if we were to close the books today, our fund balance would be adding $32 million to that number, with end of year balance of $114,654,482. So as compared to, for comparing revenues to the budget to our year-to-date actual, you can see that, again, we are trending a little bit higher in some places. Our total interest, as we've talked about before, is definitely, we're reaping the benefits of making some of those investments and changing our bank account a little bit, so we're definitely seeing a huge increase there. For our sales tax continues to bring in a little bit more than it did last year. Casual sales tax up until this month has been trending a little bit down from the previous year, but as you can see, it's actually recovered just a little bit of $443. SSUT continues to grow, and then our total sales and use tax compared to last year at this point is an increase of $3.1 million. So our sales tax definitely is increasing. I keep saying this, everything I keep reading about, we are looking for a downturn, and if you notice, let me go back to this. Last month, our net change in fund balance was $34 million, now it's at $32 million. So we're starting to see some downturn, especially even though we're bringing in more sales tax, we're gonna start seeing some downturns as far as consumer spending, for sure. And one of the things to look at, if you look at the economy nationally, is that most households have weathered the storm, but what they've been doing, as we've talked in our investment committees, is actually dipping into their savings to weather the inflation at this point. That is starting to trend down because, of course, savings are being depleted. So we will start seeing some less, I think, less increase. We're seeing some increase too because of inflation. Things are just higher, but I think we're going to start seeing some downturns before the end of the fiscal year. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Bolt?
Mr. President, I actually got one. And again, you don't have to do this right now, but maybe next time, maybe third or fourth quarter, do we keep up with trends
so we can know what to expect from one year to the next, meaning that the SEC tournament is X date, and then we receive, make this amount of revenue from a comparable standpoint. I think another one is during the Christmas season. So we can just see from a training standpoint what to anticipate, how folks are training. I know total year to date, we know what that number would be,
Right.
but it'd be nice to, even like a bar graph to kind of show that, and give us those 5 or 6 seasons where we have an uptick in revenue, whatever the reason may be.
Yes, and we do have that. We just don't necessarily always prepare it in these financials, but we can do that. And we usually do have that, especially at the end of the year and then with budget when we're looking at actual. So with SEC and Christmas, I will say you can't just say, oh, this is break it down. This is what SEC brought in. You can to some extent, but you're looking at so many different factors. That's not how businesses where we've seen a growth in business or an uptake in sales. They don't say this is due to SEC. They just report what they brought in those months.
Right.
So I can do it for those months as far as seasons.
Right, and that's all I'm asking, because there's a lot of variation, but at least it'll give us some type of idea from a season standpoint, what is occurring, and we can blame it on maybe 5 or 6 items, but at least we'll have somewhat of a trending.
Yep, sure.
Thank you. Sir, any other questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Bo. I'd like to recognize our special guests. We're always delighted to have folks here visit with us, but former Councilor Joe Reeves is with us. Joe, always a pleasure. 2 members of our Board of Education here, Mr. Alan Paquette, Mr. Craig Kelly. Welcome you both, you gentlemen. And I have a friend here in the chamber tonight. I want to recognize Mr. Christian Brown. Mr. Brown, born and raised in Hoover and makes his home here today, and very involved civically. And Christian, we're glad you're here as well. We'll now move to our regular agenda. We did not have a work session on Thursday night, so we will take each of these items one at a time and discuss them and have presentations from respective department heads prior to having a vote, beginning with item number 1, the minutes. Mr. Corley.
This would approve the minutes from the March 16th, 2023 work session, the March 20th, 2023 meeting, the March 30th, 2023 work session, and the April 3rd, 2023 meeting.
Mr. President, I move for approval of the minutes without reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes. Any discussion from members of the body? Any comments from members of the public? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The ayes have it, the motion carries. Item number 2, resolution 6945-23, Mr. Corley.
This resolution amends the budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2023, as shown on Exhibit A to the resolution.
Mr. President, I move for approval of resolution number 6945-23.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Bo.
Yes, so this budget amendment is for the Met and complex improvements that we've been talking about for quite some time. We're going to be using $600,000 from our reserve or FY22. If you remember, we did a listing of some of those projects that reserve from FY22 would be used for. So this was listed on that as well. And then we typically about every quarter sweep funds from the SFM account into the city's account. And so that's $250,000 of that was recently swept from that account, so that will be used for this as well. And also any future payments that we receive from SFM in the near future will also be moved toward that as well on a future budget amendment as well.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Bo? Any comments from the public tonight? We have a motion and second for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The ayes have it, the motion carries. Item number 3, resolution 6946-23, Mr. Corley.
This resolution authorizes Mayor Brocato or his designee to execute a government credit application and ACH authorization agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc. for the purchase or lease of vehicles.
Mr. President, I move for approval of resolution number 6946-23.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Aldate.
First, Councilman, would like to continue this item to the next agenda. We send the comments that our legal team send us and our risk management back to Enterprise to revise that agreement, and we did not receive that back yet.
Very good. I know this is a new arrangement that the council is not familiar with. Can we talk just a little bit about it?
Yes,
Even though we're not voting tonight, I anticipate it'll be something that may come up at our next council meeting. So you might give us a briefing on what it is we're doing here, Mr. Aldack.
this is just, another method for us to purchase or lease fleet vehicles. We've been having a little bit of issues with the state bid and finding vehicles on the state bid. Enterprise is on Sourcewell, which is a cooperative contract that we could purchase directly from there.
It's my understanding that this would be a purchase and not a lease.
It is a purchase, yes, sir. We can purchase the vehicles, or if we choose to, see if there's the options to lease, we could.
Correct.
We ran into 9 trucks that we've had a problem with on the state bid, and this will give us the opportunity, if it's the agreement in place and they find the trucks that we specified, we could go ahead and act on it right away versus waiting to come back for this body and give the agreement. We might lose those trucks.
I understand.
Mr. President?
Sure.
We do have to, we do have to position it as a lease because they don't have a dealer license in Alabama. But we will prepay everything but the last dollar of the lease. So not the, I know there's a nuance, I want to make sure the council understands. So it's not like going to a dealership and buying a vehicle, but it's also not like leasing a vehicle over the long term. We'll prepay everything but $1 per vehicle. So legally, it's a lease. But in reality, we prepay everything but $1. Does that make sense?
Yes.
They can't sell us the vehicles for money. But it has the benefit of a purchase. We're not paying long-term interest. We won't have $1 on the lease. I'm sure there's got to be questions about it.
Well, let's do this. This is a 9-vehicle item that we will potentially take up over the next 2 weeks when we gather again. If this works really well, I anticipate this could be something that we're asked to do more fleet-wide on potential, a lot of vehicles and equipment. Let's take the opportunity over the next 2 weeks to ask the members to get with you to get some more details on it, because it is a significant shift in how we do fleet management. And I think there will be implications in terms of maintenance schedules, who performs maintenance, warranty work, perhaps turning vehicles over sooner than a 10-year lifespan that we typically do today. So there's a lot of tentacles to this one, and I want everyone to be able to understand it. So we've got time.
And I didn't want to step on Mr. Aldack. I didn't want y'all leaving here thinking we were buying.
Correct.
We're buying. Legally released.
Correct. With that, let's entertain a motion to continue until 2 weeks.
Mr. President, I move to continue this item for, until the next meeting.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any thoughts, comments on that from the body? Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. Item number 4, resolution number 6947-23. Mr. Corley.
This resolution declares a weed and other vegetation nuisance and directs the abatement of said nuisance pursuant to Alabama law at the following locations in the city of Hoover: 2337 Tyler Road and 4547 Highland Crest Circle.
Mr. President, I move for approval of resolution number 6947-23.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Martin.
Yes, Mr. President, the good news is we've managed to have this list whittled down to 2. We have photographs on the overhead of the 2 remaining sites that have yet to be cut. Those we would like to continue down the path of declaring a nuisance.
Members see the pictures in front of them, as do those in the chamber. Any questions or comments for Mr. Martin on those 2 items?
I have one, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
The Tyler Road property's been on here before. Is that bank owned? Is it vacant? What's going on with that property?
My understanding is it is vacant at this time. I can give more details as to the ownership for you.
It's not important for this context, but it keeps being on there, so I was just wondering what was going on with it.
Any other questions for Mr. Martin? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, we have a motion and second for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. We'll now have first readings of 2 items. No vote will be taken tonight. However, we will come back at our next regularly scheduled meeting for a second reading and potential vote. We'll begin with item number 5, ordinance 23-2601. Mr. Corbin.
This ordinance amends ordinance number 263 for the property located at 2780 John Hawkins Parkway, further described and shown on the map and Exhibit A attached to the ordinance. The property is currently zoned C2 or Community Business District with conditions. This ordinance would amend one of the conditions to permit more deliveries beginning at 4 a.m. through 10 p.m. The property would remain zoned C2 with all other conditions intact.
Yes, Mr. President, the Planning Commission took up this item last month and voted in favor of sending a positive recommendation to this body. As mentioned, this would add 3 hours onto the beginning of the morning delivery service for the Walmart located off of Highway 150. And that is the only condition that was placed on the property that they are seeking to alter with this amendment.
All right, we'll take up item number 6 now, resolution 6944-23. Mr. Corbin.
This resolution grants conditional use approval at 6543 Quail Run Drive for the operation of an in-home daycare with conditions listed on Exhibit 2 to the resolution.
All right, yes, Mr. President, the one thing that I will point out, the Planning Commission did approve this with conditions to recommend favorably to this body. The one item in the conditions that I'll point out is the desire of the operator is to have 6 children on site. Our zoning ordinance currently limits their operation to 5 children. However, we did find that 6 children are allowed under the licensing that they have with the state. So there has been an application submitted by the applicant to appeal to our BZA to add that additional child to the list. The way the condition has been worded with this resolution would allow for them to add that 6th child should the variance pass without having to come back to this body. And I would anticipate an amendment to the zoning ordinance to be brought into line with the state regulations on this issue.
Very good. Thank you, sir. We'll have a second reading of that item in our next meeting and a potential vote as well. I also want to recognize tonight Mr. Keith Barfield. Mr. Barfield is the newest member of the Hoover Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and no stranger to this body or our city staff. Mr. Barfield and his staff have been longtime partners in the accounting work for our city. Mr. Barfield, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thank
you. Any questions or comments from the council tonight?
Yes, Mr. President, there's more of a comment, and I meant to bring it up during the budget amendment. When we begin to talk about the stadium improvements, I'm glad we striped the asphalt. That stadium over 35 years old now, and just kind of keep in mind, I don't know what the weatherproofing, Chris, I don't know the last time it was evaluated for the roofing system, weatherproofing, UV protection, but things like that don't last but 10 to 20 years. So I'm just, as we begin to kind of talk about the upkeep of the mat, just understand we got to look at rusting and things of that nature that occur. So once we go through that little kind of here, not only what we're going to do in the parking lot, but from a specs and services standpoint, what we have looked at to ensure that we're maintaining the facility so it won't cause any issues with the structure itself. So that's my only point.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. I know I speak for each of us when we say heartfelt thank you and congratulations for an outstanding SEC tournament week. Our staff and everyone involved really showcased what this city's made of, and I continued, even today, to hear stellar comments on how the city executed the Southeastern Conference tournament, hopefully positioning us for a long-term arrangement with them. I don't think we could have done a better job. So, Mayor, to you and your staff, outstanding job. And really, really good work. Anyone from the public like to speak tonight? Yes, ma'am. If you would please give us your name and address, and you're recognized for 3 minutes.
KT Thomas, 1426 Scout Trace. I appreciate the recent expenditures and repairs to stormwater infrastructure. The $1 million price tag for South Sanders was probably painful, but it was necessary. Thank you. This is progress and it's a good beginning, but there is work to be done. On February 6, 2023, during a council meeting, Mr. Rice justified the annexation and repairs on Lake Forest Circle with 2 points. First, the importance of the biodiversity of the Cahaba River, and secondly, the city's obligation to maintain its NPDES permit. 2 requirements of the permit are a program outlining a plan to control, and I quote from the EPA, to control the quality of stormwater discharge into the storm drains and thence into the waters of the United States. And the second requirement is the MS4, which is an annual report on that plan. Some of you might recall that in October the 6th and 7th of 2021, at least 390 residences or properties were damaged, and Hoover was declared a disaster area. The most recent MS4 report covers the time from October 1 to 2021 to September 30th, 2022. October 6th was addressed in the MS4 report as follows. Due to an extreme flooding event in October of 2021, the emergency spillway embankment at Howard Lake was damaged. Less than 20 words to describe October the 6th, 2021. Of course, the city signs off on the MS4 report, but it's written by a paid consultant, Hydro Engineering Solutions in Auburn. And I'm not suggesting that any one individual employee, decided to purposely omit information or do anything deceitful. I do believe, though, as you know, that accurate and thoughtful processes and documents are important. Perhaps the report could be revisited. The official report also represents 2 things. Building sites are inspected at least once a month, and storm drains are checked before and after every rainstorm event. How is that possible? Hydro Engineering Solutions developed software for conducting the monthly inspections, yet ADEM, as part of a consent agreement, has fined U.S. Steel and the Preserve 2 times in 2 years for failure to enact BMPs. Logically, Hoover should have identified and helped U.S. Steel correct those problems before ADEM was involved. Did those inspections happen? Did the software work? We don't know. Many of us have asked the city to do more, and now I'm asking the city to do better.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you being here. Anyone else from the public like to speak tonight?
I do have something for you, if I may.
Anyone else? Thank you. We're adjourned.